So the Minnesota Vikings in 2024 in general played some really good football and had a great season. Obviously it did not end the way that Vikings fans and of course the organization itself would have liked, but progress was made. Personnel on this team, what players I am excited about and what players I think will surpass expectations, and so much more. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so as I said, 2024 was a successful season for the Vikings, but now they have turned a page. They did a lot over the offseason at almost every position, whether it was making a big change or just adding depth through free agency or the draft. But all in all, I think they improved, and that is huge because it's not easy to improve a team that went 14-3. It's impressive how the front office built a strong team, even while dealing with around $70 million in dead cap space. This offseason really showed how well this front office can navigate through difficult financial waters. I don't really want to call this a rebuild because truth is it wasn't, it was just a reload. JJ McCarthy was the Vikings' first round pick back in 2024, but he suffered a long-term injury before the year even started, which then forced the Vikings to hand the reins over to Sam Darnold, and we all know that he played well and shocked a lot of people, really revitalizing and saving his career. But I think it was clear he was not who the Vikings had in mind to lead them to the promised land. He was never the long-term plan. It was always McCarthy, the product out of Michigan. It's always exciting for any team when a new young quarterback comes in and takes things over, especially when other players are brought in as well around the guy, and that is the case for the Vikings. The team made smart targeted acquisitions on both sides of the ball. On offense, they re-signed running back Aaron Jones, they traded for Jordan Mason, and added a dynamic playmaker in Rondale Moore, who's sort of a project with upside. They also bolstered the offensive line by bringing in a veteran by the name of Ryan Kelly. He of course plays center. He did very well with the Colts last year, and then his teammate Will Fries, the guard from the Colts, was also brought in. So nice little duo from the same team. They already have some chemistry. I think that is going to be an added bonus to those additions. And then they added Justin Skule as a swing tackle, and on defense the Vikings were super aggressive in improving the trenches, landing Jonathan Allen and Jonathan Hargrave to anchor the interior pass rush. But that was not it, because even more moves across the depth chart were made, as Andrew Van Ginkel was re-signed, Eric Wilson returned to the team, and Byron Murphy was also retained to help solidify the secondary. The Vikings also brought in Isaiah Rodgers from the Eagles, a bit of a gamble, but a guy with upside, and they of course won the Super Bowl, so he's got that experience, and I think he has at least enough upside for the chance of the signing to be worth it. The special teams unit saw reinforcements too, including Javier Thomas and Tim Jones, and the legendary Harrison Smith is returning for his 14th NFL season. Even Ryan Wright, the punter, and Theo Jackson received extensions, showing how thoroughly the Vikings tried to maintain consistency where it was needed. Of course, there were some notable and big departures too. Besides Darnold, quarterbacks Nick Mullen and Daniel Jones, who had a short stint with the team, are gone. Cam Akers, Brandon Powell, and Trent Sherfield all moved on at skill positions, while offensive linemen like Garrett Bradbury, David Questenberry, and Ed Ingram were either traded or not re-signed. Some of these losses sting, but I also see many of them as addition by subtraction. I know that is like cliche and a heavily overused phrase, but I think the Vikes upgraded across the board, despite losing some recognizable names, at least on paper. And then even with limited draft picks due in part to the trade up for Dallas Turner, the 2025 NFL Draft was seen as a major success by many scouts and analysts alike. Jackson is expected to start right away at left guard. Ty Felton could be the Vikings wide receiver 3 and a return specialist, and rookies like Ingram Dawkins on the defensive line, Kobe King at linebacker, and Gavin Bartholomew at tight end are all potential contributors if things come into place. According to an article by NFL.com, the Vikings were actually not listed as one of the top 5 most improved teams heading into 2025, but it is so wrong. I'm not even a Vikings fan myself, but there's no way this team ain't top 5. Maybe they aren't the flashiest, but when you break down what the turnover was position by position, there was just no way. They featured teams like the Bears, Jets, Raiders, Cardinals, and Patriots. It was a terrible list. It basically just put all teams that struggled, while we all know the Vikings became a contender. I think this season with McCarthy recovered and back at it fully healthy, I think he's going to be the one to shock and turn a lot of heads. And I know I'm just saying that, and it's really easy to praise guys in the offseason, but he has drawn high praise and comparisons from both teammates and also just players across the league. Somebody even called his game and his throwing style similar to Josh Allen. McCarthy is not only healthy now, but also he's a perfect schematic fit for Kevin O'Connell's offense. McCarthy will be able to run the offense on day one, knowing everything, while the other 2024 rookie quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. all had to adjust their game to fit. In contrast, McCarthy's temperament, going and established play action, McCarthy will be in a great position to succeed. And then defensively, the Vikings are deeper and more athletic. The cornerback group of Rodgers, Murphy, Blackman, and Okudah is seen as an upgrade over last year's group, which included Stephon Gilmore and Shaquille Griffin. So I think you get my point. The Vikings are a much improved team, even with a lot of turnover. They have a great system going, run by an amazing coaching staff. They have continuity combined with new and exciting players, and this is a sleeper contender. But only time will tell if I am right, or if those words are going to come back and slap me in the face. Let's take a look at JJ McCarthy's recent press conference last week to get an inside look at some of the things he said about the team and his progression so far this offseason.
Building the rapport off-field, like going to Timberwolves games and stuff, getting to spend that time with him outside the building.
It's been fantastic, just like I said, the authenticity of him. He's not too big or too cool for school. Like, he's Jets, and he's, just a guy's guy. And we appreciate every single moment we have with him, me specifically. And, we're going to keep stacking those days, this offseason for sure. Pure thrower of the football, I believe I've grown the most on just the different level of trajectories of throws. At Michigan, I was kind of a one-speed pitch kind of guy, had a couple deeper balls with, level 3 throws and stuff like that, but just working on that 2-ball and, different paces to the pitches and, ball location and all that, because at the end of the day, we want as much yak and rack as possible. So
that's really all I got for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, and until next time, I will see you all later.